back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So when I was at university in Bathurst, I was over at my mate Dino's house. And Dino was a big fan of weed, and I was never a big fan of weed. But I was over there having a few drinks one day, and I decided to have a couple of tokes on a joint, and I fucking was enjoying it. And so I had a few more drinks and a few more tokes on the joint. And I was in the backyard and I was looking over the fence, and there was this like budgie or canary or whatever the fuck it was. One of those small little fucking birds. The ones they keep in a cage. So I was stoned and looking at this budgie, and I started getting profound thoughts. I was like, I'm going to set this budgie free. That budgie has never really lived. It's been in the cage its whole life. It doesn't know anything else. I'm going to set it free. So drunk and stoned, I jumped over the fence into this cunt's backyard, and I went up to the cage, and I opened the cage door and I propped it open. And I was expecting the budgie to fly out, land on my shoulder, whisper something in my ear, and we were going to be friends forever. But that was never going to happen. But what I was expecting, like minimum I was expecting, was the budgie to fly out, see the open door, finally get what it wanted its whole life, to be able to fly in the open air and live and feel some freedom. So I opened it and I stood there, and the budgie didn't even approach the door. It saw it, it looked at it, and then sort of backed back in its cage and sort of just walked around. And I'm like, come on, budgie, come on. Get out of jail. Just come to the door, come to freedom. And the budgie wouldn't do anything. And after a little while, I was like, fuck that. I'm jumping back over the fence and I'm getting more drunk and high. But I left the gate to his cage ajar. And so I went back over, kept drinking, kept fucking smoking, and I kept an eye on the cage. And the budgie, after an hour, didn't leave. After 2 hours, didn't leave. After 3 hours, 4 hours, it didn't leave the whole time. And then it occurred to me that the budgie didn't actually want to be free anymore. It was content just being in its cage. Its cage was safe. Why would it want to leave the cage? Its cage is safe every day, or twice or three times a day. Some cunt's hand comes in and gives it some food. Nothing attacks it. It's probably developed some sort of mental illness that it wouldn't even be able to socialize even if it wanted to. Even if it got outside, there's no fucking chance it would survive. It's probably terrified of fucking walking out the door, really. It's been institutionalized to the cage for so long now that outside the cage doesn't even really exist. But because I was so high, it was quite a profound thing for me to see. And then I was like, that's what people are like as well. People don't really want to be let out of their cage. People are scared of what's out there. So they would prefer just to be in their cage. And I always thought about that for years. I thought about the budgie not leaving its fucking cage. It was one of those profound stoned things that always stuck with me. And I'd look at people and I'd be like, oh, they're just too afraid to leave the cage. And I thought that was bad, and I thought that was sad. But it's much, much worse than that. Now it's not that people are too afraid to leave their cage. Now, and I can see it, people violently oppose leaving the cage. Like if you even mention to a budgie now that there's a cage door and the cage door's open and you are free to leave anytime you like, you're free to come and go as you please, budgie. The budgie will claw your fucking eyes out and try and peck your fucking nose just to stay in the cage. The threat of fucking leaving the cage now is so terrifying to the fucking budgie that they will defend their fucking prison until the death. It has become so fucking warped that the prisoner now believes being in prison is their choice. And if you fucking take them out, not even take them out. If you mention there's a door, if you fucking tell them there's a exit, they will think you're talking about some fucking fantasy, like the fucking wardrobe in Narnia. That doesn't exist. Why would I want to walk through that anyway? Now you better get out of my fucking cage or else. So if what I thought all those years was still the problem, that the Budgie was just too scared to walk out the door to freedom, if that was still the problem, I wouldn't be as concerned as I am now. Now it seems the Budgie forgets it's even in a cage, and the idea that there's an exit elicits a violent fucking reaction. Anyway, that's all I've been thinking about today. I got a fucking Degeni Diaries coming to ya from the Law Dog. I've already checked the audio. It's come out fucking beautiful this week. A banger of an episode. The Law Dog's a lawyer and he talks about the fucking clients he defends. We got some conspiracy in there. And this is the guy who was friends with Shuki, the listener of the podcast that died a couple of months ago. So we talk about Shuki as well. So if you want to get on board that, join the Patreon. The link is at my website, boylecomedy.com. That'll do for today, and I'll see you the fuck later.